Hey guys, oh my word, I can't believe I am finally doing this. I've been procrastinating for so long about this channel. I was even thinking of leaving it because I remember the first time I thought about it, I had like 3,000 followers and now I have more than 50,000. So you can imagine how long it's been. So why did I procrastinate for so long? You know, when you're not known and you feel like your content won't be welcomed, as opposed to if it was done by someone who people know. I mean, if I am not known and I come to you and I say that I want to tell my story, who would want to hear my story if nobody knows me? But if somebody who's known comes and say, I want to tell my story, we want to hear it because we know this person, so we want to know more about the person. But when someone is not known, I sort of felt like, who would want to hear my story? Like, who would care? You know? But the more I felt like I shouldn't do it, the more I saw a lot of signs that I really need to do this. You know? And I tried so many times to run away from my heart's desire to create this channel, but the more I ran away, the more my heart was like, please do it, please do it, please do it. And even the people close to me kept on saying, no, just do it. Even my followers kept on saying I should do it. And yeah, here we are finally, and I'm glad, but I'm also nervous. Another thing that sort of made me skeptical to start the channel is the content that I'll be sharing. I'll be talking a lot about depression. Of course, there'll be legal insights here and there, but the core focus of the channel is going to be depression, and not just depression, any other challenge that I went through and any other challenge that other people went through, because I also want to invite people who went through things to come forward and share their story about how they survive. It doesn't necessarily have to be depression in particular. Anything that you feel like, I went through this and I survived it. You get what I'm saying? Because the one thing that I noticed is that when we go through things, we sort of think we are the only person going through it. The only time you realize that there are a lot of other people going through what you went through, there are a lot of people who went through what you are currently going through. That's when you realize that, oh my goodness, so I'm not the only person. Oh my goodness, so my problem is not only unique to me. And you realize that there's a community of people who went through similar things, although not the same. But you listen to other people's stories and you realize that I wasn't the only person going through this, or I'm not the only person going through this. When things happen to us, we tend to think no one will understand. We tend to think no one else knows what it feels like, especially when and I'm speaking from experience, when you're going through something and you explain to a friend or even a stranger, when you're just talking to someone and you're trying to vent and the person is like, I feel you, and they try to explain, deep down you're thinking to yourself, this is nothing compared to what I'm going through, or this is nothing compared to what I went through. But when you sit down and actually listen deeper, you realize that, oh my goodness, I'm not the only person going through this. I'm not the only person who went through this. So with this channel, I want to create a community of siblings. I want you to see this channel as a place where you can come and sit and say to yourself, oh my goodness, this person went through this and I'm going through that. They actually went through worse and they survived. And what I'm going through compared to this is actually very, very simple. You get what I'm saying? And I believe that every problem has a solution. We just have to try and find that solution. And I've been so scared to create this channel because I've been thinking to myself, there are a lot of YouTube channel. I love watching YouTube, and there are a lot of YouTube channels sharing exciting things, and so I felt like maybe people want to hear exciting stories. Who wants to hear about depression? Who wants to be sitting and wasting their data listening to how I went through depression, listening to how I attempted suicide? Who wants to be doing that? A lot of people, a lot of channels share exciting things. But in as much as that also made me skeptical, I feel like I was comparing the content that I'm going to be sharing with the content that other people are sharing. And I believe that each one of us is called to do something different. And I beg your pardon, if someone chooses, I'm going to be sharing this, and it's a very exciting, the content is exciting, they are called to do that. And if I believe that I want to see people heal, I believe that I am called to do this. So I can't compare my calling with your calling or with whoever's calling. And in as much as people do like exciting things, I do believe that one of the reasons people don't speak much is because they are also scared. They are also thinking, who will listen? Number one, they're also thinking, if there is someone who will listen, they are probably going to judge. So we are constantly just having this inner conflict of thinking we can't tell our stories. So with this channel, I want you to know that there's a place for you. There's a place for you to open up about what you went through. There's a place for you to open up about what you are going through. The other day I saw on Twitter someone saying, maybe this life thing was not meant for me. And I thought to myself, once upon a time I was this person. Once upon a time I thought death was a better solution than life. Once upon a time I thought I wouldn't overcome whatever that I was going through at the time. You get what I'm saying? So there are a lot of people who have that sort of mentality. Not mentality per se, but there are a lot of people who are going through things and they think this life thing is not for me. Whether they share it on Twitter or they don't, at least there's someone who's brave enough to say, maybe this life thing is not meant for me, and they say it on Twitter, and you get to realize that, okay, this person is going through something. Maybe let me send a DM and try and be there for, and try and figure out how I can be there for them, you know. But there's also someone who's going through the same thing, but they're so scared of coming forward because they're thinking nobody cares. When you go through Twitter and you realize Tolu just uploaded her picture wearing her robe, oh, things are going well for her. And then you're like, yo, now if I share my sad story, who wants to hear about how sad I am, when there are so many people who are happy? And then you see someone your age, what, Beredi Hills, they went to get their new car, and you're thinking to yourself, people share exciting things. I can't be sharing this. I'm not going to say anything. So this is why I created this channel. I want you to know that you are not alone. I want you to know that you can overcome it. So if you're someone who went through something and you've never shared it, or you have shared it but not in a place as public as YouTube, please don't hesitate to send me a DM and tell me that you have a story to tell, and we can arrange how you can come to the channel and share your story and inspire others. I want this channel to be a channel that inspires every single person. I want us to be at a place where we say to ourselves, we don't know what happens beyond the grave. So I'm not going to take my life because of what I'm going through right now. Because you could be going through this right now, but you don't know what's going to happen if you commit suicide. The only people who know what happens when you're dead are the dead people. So we don't know for certain that if you die, you're going to be at peace. We don't know for certain that if you die, it will be over. Think about the people that you're going to leave behind. What about them? Think about the pain that they will be going through once you're dead. I remember reading somewhere that suicide does not end the pain, it transfers it to someone else, which is true. Because with me, I saw what my family went through with my last suicide attempt. I realized what it did to my family, and I told myself that I'm never going to do that again. And because I understand what you're going through at that time, like at the time you don't even think about the people around you, because most of the time, okay, now I'm going to talk about myself. Most of the time when I thought about doing it and I didn't, it was because of the people in my life. I thought of the pain that I'm going to be transferring to them. But when that day came when I took those pills, I said to myself, I've been thinking about these people for so long, and I've been considering their feelings for so long. Now it's time for me to put Solofelo first, and I said to myself, now it's time for me to do this. I've been thinking about them. I know what it's going to do to them, but it's doing more to me than my death would do to them. So it's better if I end it all. And I know that I'm not the only person who has been through that. So I want you to come forward. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be depression. It doesn't have to be suicide. You have your story to tell. Please DM me. Come, let's talk. I want us to be siblings. I want us to have that community of people who just speak about their struggles, who just speak about what they went through, what they are going through, how they are surviving. I want us to be at a place where we are so healthy emotionally and mentally that even when we have the finances, we don't want people to be thinking, hore, it's possible, hore, obe rich but still miserable. I want us to be healthy people. I want us to be a healthy people. So please come forward if you have a story to tell, and we can inspire someone who's going through the things that we went through, the things that I went through. And yeah. By the way, guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My name is Solofelo Mokopanele. I was born and bred in the Free State in a very small town called Tabanchu. Tabanchu is like 70 km from Bloemfontein. I started my schooling at Sipima Primary School. Then I went on to Horonyane High School. From grade 1 to grade 6, I wanted to be a minister of finance. I lost my mom when I was in grade 6. So what made me change my mind about being a minister of finance? I still remember when I was doing grade 7. Yeah, I was doing grade 7 and we were approaching exam time. So usually at our school, when we are approaching exam time, grade 1s to grade 6 would be allowed to go outside and play, and then Rona bo Baba Holo, Lebo Abuti Baba Holo, we would have to sit in class and maybe study for the exam. If not study, we'll just be sitting and doing nothing. So one particular day we were sitting in class and one of our teachers was just having a chit chat with us. And that day he was talking about sex before marriage, having sex young, just sex in general. He was just educating us about sex. And I remember this particular time when he's talking, and I went back in time. I had a memory of when I was 7 years old. I used to visit my aunt a lot when I was young. She stayed in a 2-roomed house. It was just the kitchen and the bedroom. So I used to sleep with her and her husband. They would sandwich me. It would be my aunt, me, and then the husband. So one particular night we were all sleeping, and I'm a light sleeper, so whatever movement that happens, I'm up. So that day I feel this guy's hand sliding inside my panties, and get confused. I'm thinking, why is this person doing this? But I kept quiet. He did it, and then later he started rubbing my vagina. And I remember being so scared and being so confused. Oh, why is he doing this? But the next morning when I woke up, I didn't tell anyone about it. I don't know why, but I managed to brush it off. I managed to act like nothing happened. To this day, I still don't know why I reacted like that, but I did. So I kept quiet, and it happened every day until I stopped visiting my aunt. And I never even once spoke about it until last year. I only opened up about it last year when sexual offenses cases were happening a lot last year. And I told my best friend that this is so triggering to me because this has happened to me. So it hurts that another woman or children are going through the same thing that I went through, because I know how much it hurts, and I know how it disturbs a child, and I know what it's like to have to always brush it off so that you don't cause conflict. So I was hurt by that. So I'm in class and I'm having this memory, and And I'm thinking to myself, I don't want this to ever happen to anyone, not on my watch. So I thought that day that I want to be a lawyer. I want to make sure that I take people to jail, you know. And yeah, and from that day on in grade 7, I had this desire and this passion in my heart to be a lawyer, and I carried it in my heart from that day to this day. So yeah, grade 7 ended and I went to grade 8 until grade 12. And when I was in matric, I applied to UCT to study law, but unfortunately I didn't write my NBT. They replied and they told me that I should write it, and then after writing I can reapply. But it was like post September and it was already late to apply to write my NBT. So I was already late for the next year. So I didn't even know what an NBT was, and nobody at home knew, because at home I was the first person to go to varsity, so I didn't know. And the thing is, I was at the time, I was this person who was always scared to ask questions, so I didn't know where to go. NBT, but eventually I asked my best friend, because she had also applied at UCT. And she told me what it is, and the following year I did apply to write. But this one time, now it was time for me to apply again to UCT, but this one time I'm watching the news and I see UWC, and somehow I loved it, and I decided, okay, I'm not going to apply to UCT anymore. I applied to UWC and I applied to write my NBT, and I did fairly well. I beg your pardon. And I did fairly well with my NBT, and then after that I applied to UWC. They accepted me to study law, and in my next video I'm going to be talking about my UWC journey with you, and my very first experience with depression, and my very first suicidal attempt, because I had I think 5 failed suicidal attempts. So I'll be talking about my experience with depression and all those things that I went through. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video.